Welcome back everyone. The iPad mini 5 was an iPad that came out a few years ago, and it was actually a pretty good iPad, I think. I'm glad Apple finally released the iPad mini 6 that had a ton of long awaited features, but what I can tell you about this specific iPad is that it's still a pretty decent iPad for sure, and if you happen to go pick one up, I would recommend it. You know, there's not a lot to hate on it. It's still fairly fast, it still has a lot of capability. The only downside is probably the body. It has an outdated body compared to what we're used to nowadays, but I still think it's fairly good for the most part. The front of this thing has that beautiful display. I mean, it's definitely not a bad looking display. We've had worse. And I think, with iPadOS 15 and the gesture-based design and all those different things, this thing still feels and looks pretty good, even though it has a home button, lightning port at the bottom with the headphone jack, which is always really cool, and that camera setup on the back as well. Now, the camera isn't bad, I will tell you. It could have probably been better at that time as well, but it gets the job done. I mean, every single iPad for the most part has had this type of camera setup, except for the Mini 6. So, I mean, if you're trying to film the best videos on your iPad, this is probably not the device you want to pick up, but I don't think it's a horrible device either, and I would probably tell you, hey, if you need to go pick up an iPad and just kind of move on with your life, this is not a bad option. Yes, it would have been better if you could pick up something like a Mini 6, or you could just pretty much use your iPhone, but this isn't a bad option either, and I would probably recommend you to pick it up too. Now, another big thing is the software. This thing is still going to be supported for several more years of software support. So that's a really big thing to keep in mind. It's not like you're going to get this iPad today and it's already going to be outdated. That is not going to be the case at all. You can pick this thing up today and it's going to continue to get support for several more years because this thing pretty much has the same chipset as the iPhone XR. So that means this thing is going to be supported for as long as an iPhone XR as well. So without a doubt, if I will tell you, if you're worried about the, device not being lasting as long or whatever, that is not the case, and I would not worry about that at all. Now, performance-wise, like I mentioned, Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it, same thing as the iPhone XS and XS Max and the XR, and I think this iPad is still a very good performing iPad for the most part. I've kind of mentioned that yes, it's not as good as something like an iPad mini 6, an iPad Pro 3rd generation, or anything like that, but it's still a very good performing iPad, and I do think that if you're somebody who needs like the bare bones architecture of an iPad, things like, the Apple Pencil support and the apps that support an iPad, you can't really go wrong with this. This is a very good performing iPad, and I've had nothing but great success or whatever with this specific device. My only downside is sometimes the display can be a little bit smaller, and because this thing doesn't have like a crazy amount of RAM inside of it, you may feel like it's not like a really good performing device, even though most of the time it is. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I don't think it's a crazy big deal, but it is one of those things to kind of keep in mind at the back of your head. So performance wise, I think it's still awesome, and even the battery life is still really good too. There's just not a lot to hate on it here. I will tell you though, because we just got the iPad mini 6, if you're comfortable enough with spending more money, I would almost always recommend purchasing the next best thing. And because Apple released the iPad mini 6, they're not going to go ahead and redesign that iPad for the next several years. They've been recycling the iPad Pro 3rd generation design for many years now, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing the same thing with the iPad mini 6 as well. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.